Justin, and welcome to the I Ching Cafe and our July 2023 overview, where we ask the I Ching, what should we focus on as a theme collectively for us all for the month of July? And so before we get into what we can focus on, what we can do to grow and accelerate and to make the most of July, let us have a look and recap on June. We had Hexagram 46 pushing upward. We had growth. We had acceleration. We had the encouragement to put in the work, to sweat, to put our shoulder to the grindstone and to work. Because doing so would bring great results, would shift us forward in a massive and meaningful way in the month of June. And Hexagram 20 being the second hexagram, contemplation that perhaps our work in the month of June, our hard effort in the midday sun, yielded an opportunity to get perspective. Hexagram 20 is this tower. It is this perspective. It's this elevated view that we get to. We look down and we see things in a totally new way. We see how things are connected. We see how the strategy is connected or not connected to what it needs to be. And we can then move forward with this new awareness. So for you, in June, as you reflect and you say, what did I learn out of June? What was this? How did this theme bring me insight and learning? Think about, where was the growth? Where did you really work hard and really put in the effort and really sweat to get stuff done? And how did that bring you the reward? What was the outcome in the month for you? And of course, what perspective did you get? Did you get an aha? Did you get a realization or suddenly see, oh, I didn't realize that's how everything fitted together. This is amazing. I've got perspective. So where did perspective come to you in the month of June? If there was anything evidential, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment below. Right, let's get into July. Let's focus on this month and what we are here to learn. Now, we had lovely pushing upward energy, progress, movement, acceleration activity last month in June, and I have to tell you that there are some other kinds of lessons coming to us in July, because we have, as our first hexagram for the month, hexagram 39, obstruction. Okay. This hexagram, we know it well because we've had it plenty of times, and it is the story of the big boulder in the path. So last month we felt, perhaps you felt as well, I did, that there was this movement, there was this energy, there was this progress, right? We got somewhere, we grew, right? And here we have stoppage. Okay, obstruction, stop. No further. There's a giant boulder in the path. And here we've been moving along, making great progress, and here we have the stoppage. So as we work with this idea of the stop, standstill, the obstruction, okay, the boulder in the road, we have to now draw into new skills, okay, new ways of thinking about our progress, about this path that's now obstructed, than perhaps we did in June. There are other things to learn. New ways of working with the path we're on, okay, which is not about putting in the effort and pushing like we had in June. This is a different strategy altogether. So as you work through the month, whenever you encounter a feeling like your progress forward is obstructed, it comes to a stop, there's an opposition, there's a stoppage, there's a resistance, there's kind of maybe you don't get phone calls back from somebody who was going to phone you back, or whatever it is that suddenly stops. Okay. That's when you think about this hexagram and go, aha, okay, what does hexagram 39 obstruction say about what do I do now? Okay. The most important thing about this hexagram and what it really brings us to our awareness is that sometimes we have to push through the pain, right? And we have to do. But other times, the more we keep bashing our head against this obstacle, the more exhausted we become, okay? And the more incapacitated we are to find creative ways around the obstacle. So this month, we are all being brought to our awareness, this idea that there's an obstacle in our path and we have to now find a new way. What we do when we have that obstacle, when we're aware that an obstacle has come into our path, we stop. Okay, that first step, stop. And let's think, maybe bashing our head to force a solution here is not going to get us what we need. And certainly wherever we have this obstacle in our path in July, this is what the I Ching is asking us to do, is to say, bashing our head like a ram, pushing with brute force against the problem, is this going to solve it? Unlikely to. What we have to do, we have to find a new way around the problem. So you can imagine there's a boulder in your path. Maybe what we have to do is we have to go up the side of the hill a little bit, backtrack a little bit, to find a new way around the boulder, because the boulder is immovable. You might have a whole crowd of people with you to help you, but this is a solid object. It's going nowhere. So we have to find a way around it. This hexagram says get creative. Look at the obstruction from a new point of view. Look at ways around it. Accept the obstruction that's here and find new ways around it, new perspectives that can shift the solution. And also reach out to your helpers, because in this kind of walking analogy we had here, you've actually got a whole crowd of people hiking with you. And the boulders come, and there's always amazing helpers. So we can form a brace, and we can leverage, and we can form a human pyramid, and one person can climb over. It's this kind of idea where we leverage the help, the network, the people, the resources around us to find creative ways around the obstacle. And in so doing, we become free of it, and we are grown and developed through it, right? We grow because we've now stretched our muscle into other places. We haven't used the same approach, okay? Bang, 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 okay? Didn't Einstein say keep doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome? That's the mark of insanity or something like that, right? That's the idea. So the bashing against the obstacle may not be for you brute force, but it might be using the same tool, bringing the same tool to the challenge. There's another saying that if all you've got is a hammer, every problem seems like a nail. And it's that idea we bring the same old technique of solving a problem, right, to the fight, okay, and we get the same outcome. We get this obstacle that does not move. We have to reach into new tools, new ways of going around the problem and finding our way through. This hexagram is also called limping, okay, and I really like that because what it does is it highlights the idea that there's an injury, okay. So the obstacle might not necessarily be a hard and fast big boulder in the road, a complete stoppage, but it might be that somehow you are injured, okay. You might have something that you want to do in July, and you actually, maybe you twist an ankle and you can't go and then hike, okay. It's that kind of idea where we have an injury. We are limping, and an injury can be we're trying to do a big project and we don't have the cash flow, okay, or we're wanting to build a network and we haven't invested in a network. What are we injured? Where is the injury in what we're trying to do, where this obstacle comes up? And part of this hexagram is accepting the injury, just like we accept that there's a boulder in the road. There's no amount of wishing that we can do that makes it vaporize. We have to accept the reality, and we have to face the obstacle that's in front of us now, the injury that we have now. Be real, be practical, and get to the nitty-gritty of what is the reality of the injury or the obstacle or the stoppage that's in front of you. I think only then we can truly be in a position to find a way around it. When we are truthful with ourselves that we are injured, we accept the limping, we accept the injury, and we say, yes, I'm not at full capacity right now. Maybe I've been kicking that boulder with my foot and I've now broken my ankle. But now we accept that there's an injury. We accept that we're on crutches and we're limping. Now we have a different way of looking at the strategy. We have to get helpers to help us. We have to leverage our network. We have to find new ways around the obstacle. So we're going to make peace with the obstacle. We're going to love the obstacle because the obstacle has come to bring us some learning. It has come to slow us down. Okay, we might get frustrated with it and bang our fists against it, but it has come to force us to find a new and better way around the problem. Not come to punish, it's come to help. Even though we can't often see that in the moment that we face the obstacle. And so luckily, it's not a locked hexagram, okay? There's change, there's movement, there's a dynamic energy in this month. We have one changing line in the 3rd position, and that means from a timing point of view, roughly the first 15 days of July, we start to see this build up of this changing line and start moving it towards the 2nd hexagram, which we'll cover in a moment. Changing line 3, I talk about this idea that position 3 is often tricky. It's just crossing the chasm just before we're about to cross the center line of the hexagram from the bottom trigram to the top trigram. And this particular hexagram, in a way, it's almost a warning, okay, of this process. Line 3, similar energy, but it's not too bad. Okay, we've had much worse. Okay, so changing line 3. If I had to paint you a picture, right, you've got a story from the I Ching where the father goes out to go and tackle the challenge, to go and slay the dragon, or go and tackle the obstacle, and leaves behind the family in the cottage, right, defenseless. Maybe he's in the forest, he's gone out to find the bear, or whatever is the symbolic challenge, this threat that has come. And in so doing, the father leaves the family behind in the cottage, unprotected, right, alone, and maybe the bear or whatever it is, double backs and comes back towards the main house. And while he's out, going and trying to save the world, actually he's left his family behind, defenseless. So that is a symbol, okay, a story to help us understand this line, that right in this moment, right, particularly the first 2 weeks of July, when we face this obstacle, this obstruction, it's not the time for us to race out and try and conquer it, okay, to try and fix it, solve the problem, hunt down a solution, okay, hunt the bear. We don't want to hunt bears, full stop, okay. What we want to do is we want to stay at home. Stay at home and protect what's yours. Protect what's precious. Be patient. Stay where you are, okay. Breathe deeply, okay. And what you want, what you're trying to achieve, will resolve itself of itself. So there's something here where in this month, what our attention is being brought to is that despite the obstacle, what we have to learn to do, one of the specific things that's coming to us this month to learn how to do, is to recognize that when we race after danger and we try and solve the problem out in the outer world, we leave behind what's precious. And that means that we can also risk much more than not doing anything. And in just being at the home base, in just staying where you are, being calm and being patient, right, you get what you want, okay? What you want out of this process comes anyway. So we're having to do the opposite. Instead of racing out and getting into our male yang energy, we have to be female and yin and stay at home, okay? Symbolically being stay where you are, stay at your core, at your essential place, right? Your center line, your center home, the heart. Stay stuck to your knitting, okay? Not racing out after the wildlife or after the threat, okay? Stay where you are. Protect what's important to you, your home base, your core, and what you want will come, okay? I know you can do that. So that leads to our second hexagram for this month. The one evolves into the other. They play in a parallel dance. And our second hexagram is hexagram 8, holding together, okay? This is a leadership hexagram. Okay, there are quite a few that are leadership hexagrams in different ways. This one is all about the waters coalescing on the earth. See, the waters on the top trigram, the earth's on the bottom trigram. The waters coalescing, all the rivers coalescing into a central point. So when we think about this hexagram, we think about the glue that sticks everyone together. Okay, a great leader sticks everyone together by holding everyone glued to a central purpose. This is a bit different to some of the other hexagrams we have that are leadership related, like fellowship or the army. This is really about connecting everyone together in a chain. Think about when you're climbing a mountain and everyone's hooked up together, right? And you're only as strong as your weakest link. And so this idea of being hooked up together with other people, grouped together with other people, is really critical. This hexagram really comes to challenge our thinking around two areas. Are we grouping with the right people? Okay. Are we contributing what we should to the group that we are connected to? And the second part is, do we have the chops, right? Do we have the skills and abilities to lead this group, to stick everyone together? And so this hexagram often comes to challenge us when we are trying to do something in a leadership position, particularly when it's at the center of a group. Do we have it? Okay. Do we have the skills and abilities? And let's recognize where we need some support, or where we are the person, we are the organization, we are the team that should stick everyone together, that should lead and guide the group together. So who we group ourselves with is something that comes into question. This is a lot easier sometimes to understand from a business point of view, okay? Who are the associations, the partners, the network, okay? This is a very networked type idea with this hexagram. The network that I'm plugged into, the people, the connections, the associations, are they working for me? Are they of the highest and the best? And am I of the highest and the best if I've made a commitment in the grouping that I've made? So groups are going to come into focus, right? Perhaps the group is what gets us out of this problem of hexagram 39 obstruction. How can the groups that we are part of be leveraged to move us out of stuckness and into movement in the right way? Creative flow, not bashing against that obstacle, but finding new ways to move forward. And how can we be better contributors to the group, to stick people together, to create that stickiness where the group works together and supports each other to achieve what it needs to do? Well, it's going to be an interesting month. We are going to face the obstacle, but we have a tool now, okay? When you face that obstacle, just think, okay, I'm limping along, accept the injury. It's okay. We'll find new ways around it if we could just reach out to all the wonderful helpers around us, that we could work together to overcome it. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful month. Please like and share if this was meaningful to you. And of course, if you're new to the channel and you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe, hit the bell, and of course, hit the follow on the podcast edition. And I look forward to seeing you at our next weekly episode very soon.